thank you for joining me for the podcast today.
Hello, Alex. Thank you for having me on the podcast today, which is such a fabulous day. Just not only just because it's Wednesday, but because it's my third anniversary of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, which basically kicked off everything for me in this space. And I'm just really grateful to, be here on this show with you because you're one of the people I've met, through this journey. And I'm just glad to be here to talk wrestling with you. This is so great.
I know, I know. I remember doing your podcast. I think it was last year, right?
Yeah.
Last year I was on and it was so much fun. And then I finally got to meet you at New York Comic Con because you were in a panel at New York Comic Con. And I had Lo on the show a couple weeks ago, and you guys were also on the panel. So, first of all, I do have to say, you are the best hugger in wrestling media.
Oh,
I'm just gonna put it out there. Probably better than Bailey. Definitely now because she's in Damage Control, but controversial.
that
I'm
is very
sorry.
controversial. Oh my god. I never I never thought I would be a anyone would ever consider me a better hugger than her. Like Miss Ma'am was hugging people for a long time before she switched over to the dark side.
And now
So
she's not
for
hugging anybody, so
Yeah, I think that's why she's so angry because she's not hugging anybody anymore and she has so much rage. So but I'm honored that you even, think that. But yeah, I love hugs. Like that's just something that I've always, had in my life. It's just a good hug. So it's just like anytime I see people that I have met or even haven't had the chance to meet, I'm either going to shake your hand or I'm going to hug you. Like there's really no in between. So considering, we know each other, I was just like, you know what? It's hug time. So yeah.
it's hugging time, just like CM Punk, but just with the love.
Yes, exactly. Lead with love.
Literally, that was the best hug, and I did not want to leave your arms.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank
Seriously, seriously.
you.
But you are celebrating 3 years of your podcast. I just started my podcast. Do you have any advice? How has it been going? How is it treating you?
Well, when I started, it was in 2020, and that was like the month before the pandemic even started. So it's different in the way that a lot of people sort of started theirs during the pandemic. I started mine like right before. So it was just like I just knew I had stuff that I wanted to say about wrestling, but I wanted to say it in a healthy way. And I felt unsure about it because first of all, a lot of the wrestling podcasts that you see are like by people who, of course, have worked in wrestling for a number of years and they're experts, in their fields.
Hmm.
So I was just like, well, who's going to listen to me? Because I'm just a regular girl, who's just finding her way through life and just trying to figure out, what's really next for me, in your 20s because of course we go through that 20s life crisis thing. Um but it wound up being starting the podcast, and that's really what changed my life. So if I could give you any advice, since you've just started, is that to always believe in your voice, and that even in the moments where you don't believe, just know that your on the other side of your doubt and on the other side of all the hard work comes the beauty in all of it. So that's the best advice I can give. But just always believe in your voice and just know that there is beauty and blessings on the other side of all of
Wow, what a beautiful message. Oh my gosh, I love you. You're so great.
that. Thank you. I love you too.
I love you too. Oh my god. No, you're absolutely right though, right? The more that you express yourself and the more that you continue to do this, you'll eventually find your voice, you know? I've had podcasts here and there, but this is like, my first podcast alone, and it's been great, and it's because of being a guest on your podcast and also Wrestling Wind Down and so many other different podcasts as well. um it's refreshing to see more women in this space and in that media realm as well. So, uh, yeah, happy 3 years, and thank you
Thank
for
you so
coming on,
much.
of course. But let's get into the wrestling of it all. I DM'd you today and I was like, what do you want to talk about? And you said, yes, I want to talk about all the things.
Mhm.
And you listen, right now, the hottest story going on in professional wrestling right now is the Bloodline, Cody's mix up. Cody just cut a fantastic promo on Monday Night Raw with Paul Heyman, made Paul Heyman cried. We're going into the Elimination Chamber in 2 weeks, next week. And we're about to see Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn in Montreal. What are your thoughts on all of this amazing things, amazing storytelling that's happening right now?
Well, I'm going to start by basically saying that I don't really think I've seen this type of layered storytelling in so long that I feel like I'm watching like something incredibly special take place in front of my eyes. Like, if you had told me like 3 years ago or even 5 or 10 years ago that this guy Roman Reigns, who is somebody that we have all historically, hated or loved in certain areas, who's just been so polarizing over the past couple of years because WWE had labeled him the guy, would be involved in a family drama with his real life family. And then you have this other guy, in the midst of it, exploding through it all. And then on top of that, you have Cody Rhodes, who has returned, who we thought would never come back in the midst of it all. I would have looked at you like you're crazy. Like, there's no way. But
Mm-hmm.
here we are in the today of things, and this is what's happening. Roman, of course, has been on top for so long. Like, he's been breaking records left and right with how long he's been champion. He's had his cousins and Paul Heyman to do his bidding for him, and in some cases, even Sami Zayn. And it's just been, just straight dominance all the way through. But then he's done lots of underhanded and evil things, to his family in order to maintain that power and that control. And it's a story that I feel, even though a lot of people aren't really talking a whole lot about it, I feel like it's a story that a lot of people can probably relate to, even in their own families. I know it might be tap dancing between wrestling and, of course, psychological and emotional health, but that's just where I go sometimes. It's just like it's really expressing something that's very real in a lot of families. And the idea that this story is taking place is almost like overshadowing the fact that they can get in the ring with each other and fight. But then when they fight, it's still just as good, as the words that they speak and the things that they say to each other. And this week was no different. One of the things that a lot of people have been saying on various podcasts is the fact that they feel like, oh, people are going to turn on Cody Rhodes since he was destined to win the Royal Rumble, coming back from his injury or whatnot. Like, he's gonna lose, or people are gonna start hating him because he's just his face and nobody's gonna believe that. And it's like when you see the promo that he cut with Paul Heyman and you see that his face character is coming from an actual real place, it's hard for me to understand how anybody could hate him at this point, because aside from him, of course, avenging his father, the late Dusty Rhodes, he's trying to go on this journey of fulfillment for himself and be the champion that he was never truly allowed to be during his first run in WWE. And that's why he left. He left to prove that he can grow and be that man. And now that he is that man, he's done all the work. He's proven now that he can stand on his own 2 feet and be that champion, and if he has to knock down Roman Reigns and the rest of his bloodline to do it, then that's just what he'll do. And he's not afraid of that. But then when you have the promo that he cut with Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman, of course, has been doing his bidding with the bloodline because he's known them for years. It's just, you hardly have ever see that heartfelt side of him. And so for that to have happened with the man who's trying to gun for your meal ticket, it was just, the best storytelling I've seen in my entire life. And I've been watching wrestling since I was 4. I have never seen anything so enthralling, ever. And I just don't see how anyone could hate Cody Rhodes. And but then the weirdest part about it is you have the Sami Zayn of it all, and Sammy, is standing up for himself, because he's not taking being beaten down by Roman Reigns the same way his other family members have. And now he wants revenge. He wants the title as well. And this is a man who's never had a chance at the main titles. Like since he's been on the main roster, he has only ever won like maybe the US title or the IC title multiple times. But when it comes to the bigger titles, he's never ever had those. So I cannot wait to see how this unfolds. Like I personally believe that they might mess around and have like a triple threat at WrestleMania, or it just might be a thing where everything just explodes and we just have to deal with the carnage of it. But either way, I am just so excited about all of it and where it's going because it's just so good. It's just the layers of it. It just continues to stay interesting. It just never
Yeah,
stops.
for sure, because it's probably the most compelling storyline that's happened in WWE in years. And
Yes.
I think that with people possibly turning on Cody right now, I think that's more of a booking issue where Cody was gone for a while because of his injury. Jeez, I can't speak. Because of his injury, and he was destined to win the Royal Rumble. But during the time that he was away, Sammy and the Bloodline were really cooking in the kitchen. They were really cooking up something really great with their storyline, and it all came together during Survivor Series War Games. And then it finally played out at the Royal Rumble. And now that, last week on SmackDown, Sami Zayn attacked Roman Reigns and wanted the title. And then Roman said, I'm going to give you what you want, but you have to give me what you want. I'm facing you at Montreal at the Elimination Chamber. I think that's where it conflicts itself because the both stories are good because there's so many people invested in it, right? Because Cody Rhodes has
Yes.
always been a phenomenal storyteller. No matter like where he is a phenomenal storyteller. When he was in New Japan and he was in the Bullet Club and it was Kenny Omega versus Okada at, I'm pretty sure it was Dominion, and Cody came out and he was throwing the towel in for Kenny, like that's the storytelling that Cody tells. That's the storytelling that Cody excels in. And now he's bringing that to WWE, where I think it's agreeable that WWE sometimes can lack in the storytelling department. Sometimes, it's not always the case, but sometimes. And I think a lot of people were looking forward to Cody winning the Royal Rumble because it was finally his moment, right? He came out last year at WrestleMania. He cut that promo on Monday Night Raw declaring that he has his eyes on the WWE Championship because that was something that was a part of his own lineage that he wanted to succeed in. And now Roman Reigns, has both titles, but now there's this story happening with Sammy as well. So I think that's where it is of like, for us as fans, we just have to see how it plays out. I think it would be a little disappointing to see, Sammy maybe not getting his come ups and seeing a majority of just Cody going into WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns. I think it's just definitely one of those things always in wrestling where we just have to see how it plays out. But it's a thing of like, so many people have been rooting for Sammy for so long since his NXT days. And now that he is in the title scene for kind of sort of like he's in the stratosphere of the main title scene, I think a lot of people are now gunning for Sammy, but then there's Cody Rhodes, and that's a really great story to tell with him too, with Dusty and his past with his family, and now centering himself in a feud with a stable that is primarily all about family and the bloodline. So it's a good story to tell, but it's also, I think for us, like we're even more invested because it's like, okay, what is going to happen? Because this is probably, in a long time, this is probably one of the most unpredictable WrestleManias all across the
Mhm.
board, and especially with this feud as well. So it's gonna be fun to see it all play out, especially at the Elimination Chamber. Do you think that we will have another Montreal Screwjob 2.0?
Ooh, it's funny that you mentioned that because of course it is. Yeah, it is in Canada. So it could be. another screw job in the sense that we haven't seen Kevin Owens in a while, right? And it's just we haven't seen Kevin Owens since, he got beat up by Roman Reigns. He lost his championship match at the Rumble. And then Sammy, inserted himself, and defended Kevin and was like, look, you don't have to do all of this. You don't have to beat him up, which ultimately cost, Sammy his place in the bloodline. And since then, we really haven't seen Kevin Owens that much. So it's just like, I'm wondering if Kevin would come back, and pose a threat to either Roman or Sami Zayn in that championship match at Elimination Chamber. Because he has historically stabbed Sami Zayn in the back so many times that
Mhm.
you can't even count on both of your hands how many times they've fought multiple times. Like you can't count it. But then at the same time, Sammy is the same man who defended him when he really didn't have to. He could have just decided to attack him, hit him with the chair, and just solidify himself as the honorary Uce, but he didn't do that. So if there might be a screw job, I feel that Roman would need to worry about Kevin instead of Sammy worrying about Kevin. But at the same time, it's just kind of hard. It's hard to, really predict because there's a lot of history between all three of them and there could be a screw job, but it makes me wonder if it would come at the hands of Kevin Owens, and if it did come at the hands of Kevin Owens, would he screw over Roman or would he screw over Sammy? That's a very good question. So, yeah, it's really interesting stuff there.
I think it would be interesting to see if I think Kevin Owens would save Sammy, but I think the real question is Cody going to come out and interfere with that too? Cuz that's, we haven't seen him interfere with this story that's already happening with the bloodline. And he's declared that he wants to go after Roman, but I don't think we've seen him go face to face with Roman yet. It's been with Paul Heyman, but we haven't seen Cody really interact with Roman Reigns. And since this is the Elimination Chamber is the last, I'm pretty sure is the last pay-per-view until we get to WrestleMania. Um, it would be interesting to see Kevin helping Sammy, and maybe there is a moment where it seems like Sammy is going to finally get Roman Reigns, and maybe Cody comes out and he stops Sammy, and he's like, "No, like I want to face this version of Roman. I don't want to face you. I want these both these titles." And maybe that's how we get the mix up of, breaking up the title and then it's just one title and another title, or Sammy jumps into the picture of WrestleMania. Again, this is so unpredictable. Like, I know there's rumors again circling. I said this last week on the podcast. There's rumors circling that it's going to be Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos for the tag
Mhm.
titles at WrestleMania. I personally think that that would be a good match, but it's something I wouldn't want to see play out at WrestleMania. But again, it's up in the air to see what's really going to happen, especially at Elimination Chamber. But, while we're on the topic of Elimination Chamber, we have to talk about the women.
Yeah.
We got to talk about the women. So we've got the women's elimination chamber. Natalia and Carmella solidified their ticket into the chamber. And the winner will go on to face Bianca Belair, who I can see in the back is your favorite. No, that's a Sasha Banks flag,
Yeah,
isn't
this
it?
yeah, this is a Sasha Banks slash Mercedes Monet flag.
I
But I
thought
do
I
I
thought that was a
do
Bianca flag.
yeah,
My
but I
bad.
do love Bianca though, for real. Like I love Bianca too. Like I have Bianca on my wall on the other side actually. So both of them are here. They have a
Oh, okay.
presence.
I couldn't really see the other wall. Wink, wink, nudge,
Yeah.
nudge. No, I couldn't. But I know that you love Bianca, and so like, how do you feel about this elimination chamber going forward? Who do you think is going to be the worthy opponent for Bianca Belair at WrestleMania?
Yeah. Here again, this was a moment like I was talking to you off camera where a lot of things are full circle, and sort of tying into a lot of things that may or may not have happened years ago or even a year ago. And when you think about where Bianca Belair was a year ago, like she was trying to, fight her way to the front of the line after Becky Lynch, beat her in those terrible 26 seconds. Lord Jesus, it hurt. For the SmackDown Women's title, and then you had the trade off, and then Becky became Raw Women's Champion, and Bianca wanted her lick back, but then Becky was like, "Get to the back of the line, right?" And Bianca fought her way to the front of the line. She earned it at
Mm-hmm.
Elimination Chamber, and she went on to win the title that she's held, since this past WrestleMania. And she has been an amazing champion. A lot of people call her the new version of John Cena because of everyone she's beaten. And honestly, in my book, that if we are in a world where a black woman is the next John Cena, then we are in a good place. But yeah, it's Black History Month, so I feel like I have the right to say that. I have the
Go
right to say that.
off.
I have the right to say
Go
that
off.
whenever, but it's Black History Month and it's my anniversary, so I can say whatever I want to now. Um, but
No, but
moving
it's
on with
it's it's definitely true, right? Because
yeah,
a woman like that in her position wouldn't usually have that. I think it's always a compliment if someone's comparing you to John Cena, no matter which era. If it's you know, booing John Cena or loving John Cena.
right.
I don't think that you can ever go against Bianca Belair because she's just putting on some fantastic matches. Even if you don't care about the feud, like, listen, going into the Royal Rumble, I'm going to be honest, didn't really care about the Alexa Bliss feud. But when she came out, that pop was enormous, So she you can't deny her star power.
You
Um,
really can't.
you really, really can't. Not at all. Not at all. And for someone like her to be in that position of being the John Cena of this time, compared to so many other things, like, again, the storyline that's happening in the main title with the Bloodline, the fact that she's getting that John Cena push a little bit, I think it's really great.
It is really great. And then, she fought her way to get it. And it's not like, it was handed to her. She earned it, fair and square. And so with her, showing up on Monday and telling the girls, like who's going to be able to face me, because I've been in your position, I've been in your shoes. So now you guys have to fight in order to face me. Because when it comes to WrestleMania, you can't spell WrestleMania without EST. You can't. But a part of me just wants to know, like, which one of these women really are going to step up, because a lot of people, in the wrestling fandom, and also, even in journalism on various shows and stuff, have also said they feel like the women's divisions have been on the struggle bus a bit, because of course because of many reasons, of course, of missing a couple of stars, in the form of Trinity and Mercedes, who did walk out. And you have a number of women who made their returns, of course, when the regime changed last year. And it's like they're having to sort of work their familiarity up with the audience that's not necessarily familiar with them because they came through NXT or they were part of other stories that just weren't prioritized enough, and then they were let go and then they came back. So in the midst of that, you have Mia Yim, who is one of the best stars that they have, because she has an amazing look. Like, she's really talented in the ring. That eat defeat is just amazing, and it's just like, it looks like it's painful, and it just looks like an amazing and cool move that someone would try to like imitate, but don't imitate it. Um, and then it's like you also have Natalia, who's making her comeback after being gone from dealing with a broken nose by Shayna Baszler, who's going around being a bully with Ronda Rousey, who's just disappeared now. And she's
Might be
looking
for the
to sort of,
best.
yeah, solidify her place, back in the women's division, because she feels like sometimes she's overlooked. And she's really talented. In fact, she's part of the reason why so many of these women have the success they have, because they have to come through her. She either
Mhm.
coaches them or she has to fight them in order to teach them a lesson. And you could argue that she deserves, a shot at the top. And then with Elimination Chamber being in Canada too, that also feeds into that as well. And then you also have Candice LeRae, who is one of those women looking to build up her notoriety as well. But we know her from NXT and all the cool things that she did, and also the cool things that she did before that, but not the casual audience. But at the same time, she's still building herself back up. And then you also have Carmella, who just came back too. And I was really surprised that she won the last spot. I was just like, really? But I wasn't
Mhm.
angry either, because she had been gone for so long dealing with personal issues, and now she's back and she seems more sure of herself now. So I'm just like, okay. And then she has experience in Elimination Chamber as well. So
It's
you
true.
have that, and you also have Raquel, who, like, all is you have Raquel, who's just a powerhouse, and looking for her moment. And she probably gave Ronda one of the best matches that she's had on SmackDown television weeks ago
Mhm.
last year when she was champion. And then you have Liv, who always has a chip on her shoulder from having like the highest of highs from being Miss Money in the Bank and then being the SmackDown Women's Champion and then losing at Extreme Rules. And now she's just looking to hurt somebody and hurt herself in the process. Like, there are a lot of arguments, but then you have one strong buzzsaw of a woman named Asuka in the midst of it all too, who has her attitude back and her fear, that she used to strike into the hearts of women back as well. And it's just so much into it. And I really feel like my favorite to win it all is Asuka, because I feel like you don't become the most feared woman, or you don't get that attitude back, without a purpose. And I feel that Asuka deserves, in a sense, to get that sort of aura back and be that tough opponent for Bianca Belair to face at WrestleMania. Because the last big moment Asuka really had at WrestleMania was when she fought Charlotte Flair and infamously lost her undefeated streak, if memory serves me correctly, because I really don't remember Asuka having any other WrestleMania moment like that. So she would deserve that opportunity against someone like Bianca Belair.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like Bianca now could definitely have an amazing match with Asuka, but who could come out the winner is all entirely different conversation. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I 1000% agree. I think that Asuka is the one to go forward to WrestleMania to face Bianca, because I think that is a style that Bianca has not faced yet. That's a lethal opponent that Bianca hasn't faced yet, and I think that that could be a really great matchup for her. And again, speaking of the John Cena, status, I think that could be a match where it's like, okay, we've seen Bianca do it all in terms of styles in the ring. And I think with Asuka versus Bianca, who's going to win? That's going to be tough, because I think that a lot of
Hmm.
people would love to see Asuka win, because I think that there are people that enjoy Bianca on the chase for the title rather than holding the title, which is a fair thing to say, because Bianca plays a really good role in that department. And I think that Asuka does need, a little more a little more credit and a little more shine, because like you said, WrestleMania 33 she lost, or no, I'm sorry, WrestleMania 34 she lost. And then the next year was 35. I don't think we really saw her at that, I don't think. And then the next year Becky relinquished her title, and since she had the money in the bank, then it was just like, okay, let's give it to Asuka, and she's been tag title and champion, but I think this might be the time to give, Asuka the title and have her be a legit threat to the division. But I think it is a slap in the face to the SmackDown women's division to have Rhea Ripley win the Royal Rumble, and she's on Raw and she's going on to face the SmackDown Women's Champion. And then, you have the Elimination Chamber. And if Asuka does win, she is a part of, the Monday Night Raw roster. So it's like, what's going on with the SmackDown roster, with the SmackDown women's roster, and you have amazing talent there as well, with Xia Li, Shotzi, Raquel, as you mentioned before. It's tough. I really want better for for those women, for sure, because it's like, Charlotte is there, and Charlotte can be putting on really great matches with those women. It's just you're not allowing them the opportunity to do that. And there's a lot of people that have been waiting to see Xia Li have a chance, to see Shotzi have a chance, and Raquel as well. So, it's almost a double-edged sword in that department. So
You're
we're just gonna have to
absolutely right. You are right about that. And in the Royal Rumble of it all, I never even thought about that part of it. You are absolutely right, because with Rhea winning, and of course, when you win the Rumble, you can challenge whoever you want to. Um, it's like with her challenging Charlotte, it's like it's sort of leaving the other women sort of, you know, blank and not having anything really to do, outside of that. And that isn't fair, in the sense that, they work so hard, but then it's just like there's really not that much for them to do after that point, which is where I almost fear that they might get thrown either into a women's tag thing, which hasn't really had the best of direction in the past few years. Um and it makes me so sad because they do so much to try to, of course, build up the TV shows as it stands, but then it's just like they're not given like a big opportunity to face off against these women like Charlotte. And then if they do face off against them, it's on a 2-hour show like SmackDown, and then Charlotte beats them, and then what's next?
Yeah.
And it's not fair. But I am excited to see Rhea versus Charlotte because of course Rhea does have an axe to grind when it comes to Charlotte. Because it's like I was telling you off camera, like 3 years ago when I started the Hardy Wrestling podcast, the Royal Rumble happened and Charlotte won it for the first time. And Rhea walked up to her and was like, look, if you're gonna challenge somebody, challenge me for the NXT women's title, because she was the champion there at the time. And this was black and gold NXT, and I know people have their feelings. But you know, Charlotte challenged her at that WrestleMania. Of course, this was during the pandemic, and she beat her for that title. And then she
Hmm.
also beat Rhea and Nikki ASH for the Raw Women's title at SummerSlam in 2021, which was also the same SummerSlam that Becky beat Bianca.
Hmm.
And I tend to feel like people do forget that sometimes. So Rhea really does have an axe to grind when it comes to Charlotte. And I am excited to see them fight again 3 years later, and just to see, how that's gonna work with it. And I feel like this might refresh Rhea in a whole new way because Rhea's been doing great stuff with the Judgment Day. Like she's been real devious and evil, being mommy and all that. Like it's cute,
Yeah.
it's funny, it's entertaining. But how are you going to stand on your own when it comes to you fighting these women? Like, what are you going to do when it comes to fighting in the division that you're originally supposed to really be in? Not saying that can't fight with these men, because I am a fan of you fighting these men because that's cool too, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But when it comes to the women's division, you haven't really been as focused, outside of having the tag titles one good time with Liv. Outside of that, you haven't really been focused on dominance on your own. And at one point, she was that girl in NXT. She was the one who beat Shayna in
Yeah.
NXT for that title. So I want to see that level of Rhea like turned up to like 11 when it comes to her versus Charlotte. Like I want her and Charlotte to tear the house down in LA, and I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
Also, I'm a proponent of them giving, if they're not really doing anything with the women's tag division, they should combine those titles and create mid-card titles at this point, because it's just sad. But yeah, that's my little rant about that.
No, I agree with you because, at WrestleMania, what are we going to see for the women's tag titles? The main titles are already spoken for so far. With the tag titles, who are we going to see face Dakota and Io? But at the same time, you know, this past Monday Night Raw, Bailey and Becky just had a steel cage match and Lita was involved in that. Are we going to see that play forward at WrestleMania? Are we going to have Bailey versus Becky at WrestleMania? I would love to see something where we have, Bailey with a legend and then Becky with Lita, and that's like a tag match. That would be amazing to see at
It would.
WrestleMania. Yeah, so I think that especially in that feud with Becky and Bailey, a mid card title would benefit that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it would be cool if Becky and Lita decided to tag together and beat up on Io and Dakota, even though I know Dakota's injured right now or whatnot. Like that would be sick to
Yeah.
watch these two women who did fight each other last year, come together like the next year and then win the tag titles. That would be sick, for notoriety's sake. But I just feel like a mid card title would just better suit, these women who um who are just able to stand on their own without really just being slapped together as tag teams just for a haphazard reason.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
for sure. I mean, and also what a dream come true to tag with someone that you've looked up to like when you were younger, you know, for Becky to possibly tag with Lita and win the championships. That would be cool. If you had that opportunity, who would you want to be your tag partner?
Ooh. Oh my god. That's such a crazy question. It's a good question though.
It just came off the
Oh.
dome, Steph. If I were I'll give you my answer. I think
Okay.
it would be a toss up between Beth Phoenix and probably China, you know.
Oh, yeah. Those are some solid choices there. I think I would choose either Jazz, um, or it would it would either be Jazz or Sensational Sherry.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Yeah, because
That's
a
a
lot of
really
people
good
don't know
answer.
that Sherry really was like an amazing wrestler before she gained more of her notoriety as a manager. But I would definitely like love for her like to be my tag team partner. Then we're both from the same city too, so it would just yeah. And we would call our team Big Bama Energy and it would work. It would work. It would work.
I believe you. I absolutely believe that it will work.
Mhm.
Now I need to see that. No, you're right. A lot of people just put Sherry in a managing position, but not that many people know that she is a phenomenal wrestler, you know? That's
Mhm.
yeah, maybe some people do, but if they don't, now they do. So we're just going to have to wait and see you and possibly Jazz. Jazz is a really good answer too. Like holy
Yeah.
smokes, Jazz is a great answer. I would love to see them induct Jazz into the Hall of Fame.
I would weep if that happened. I would weep because I watched her and Trish fight each other for so long in my childhood, and
Uh-huh.
then just the idea that Jazz, had her retirement tour and I was actually able to commentate one of her matches during her retirement tour, it would destroy me. That would wreck me in my soul if I watched her get inducted to the Hall of Fame. I would love it.
Oh my gosh, I think she absolutely deserves it. And like she had such an amazing retirement tour too.
Mhm.
I was expecting to see Jazz at the Royal Rumble. I was a little disappointed that I didn't cuz sometimes wrestling retirements is just a break. It's not really a retirement sometimes, but oh man. Yeah, that would be a good inductee for the Hall of Fame, especially this year since it's in Hollywood, and that's such a good platform for her to have as well. And I think it's rumored that Batista is going to headline the Hall of Fame. I'm not too sure what is in the works for the Hall of Fame, but man, what a good platform for her to have and to celebrate her career, you know?
Yeah, that would be sick, but there are a lot of women that they do need to, sort of get on in there. Like, there's a
Yeah,
lot, so
there is a
there's no telling
ton.
who they'll choose this time.
Yeah, yeah, there is a ton. Like Victoria should definitely be
Definitely
in
her.
there. Oh my gosh, yeah. There's a ton and we love it. We love women's wrestling. Speaking of, wow, tell me about it cuz you wanted to talk about it. Okay, so wow, the only news that I really caught up with in terms of wow is AJ Lee and her role. So what is her role specifically in wow? Cuz she's not wrestling, correct?
No, AJ, Mendez/Lee, is not
Sorry.
wrestling. It's okay, it's okay,
I
it's
keep it
okay.
kayfabe sometimes. Sorry.
It's okay, it's okay, we know it. She's AJ Lee in WWE lore. She is She is an executive producer for WoW Superheroes as well as color commentator with Stephen Dickey and David McLean, who is the creator of WoW and also Glow as well. So that's how she serves them. And then sometimes, they've alluded to the idea that she sort of goes out and sort of picks talent, who wrestle in different areas like of the country, because I believe last episode or 2 episodes ago, she mentioned how she chose someone by the name of Jennifer Flores, who is, as it stands now, first Gen Z wrestler. But in the independents, she's known as Jasmine Allure. And she was
Mhm.
actually just on SmackDown a few weeks ago fighting Lacey Evans. So all of that is really interesting when when you do watch WoW Superheroes. And I know it comes on different times in different markets because it's in a level of syndication that I can't remember right now. But for me in Alabama, it comes on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And on Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet, I host the after show for it. And with Katrina from In Cat We Trust and Emily May Heller as well. We basically go over all of the action, and there's just so much solid action in that 1 hour of women's wrestling that it's just it's really good. And even though you have these characters that might sometimes be, I guess, if you would like imagine like any type of wild character from like the 80s or something like that, it may look a little bit weird. But where they ground it at is the fact that you hear the real stories of why these women got into wrestling and all of the ways in which they overcame multiple obstacles in their own lives in order to thrive and succeed in wrestling and not give up. Like for instance, the Beast, who was, WoW World Champion at one point. I had no clue that she was a paramedic at one point, actually had multiple and actually has multiple siblings. Like you hear stuff like that and it just sort of endears you to these women. Or like Commander Sahara Spars, who's also known as Amber Rodriguez in the independents. Like she told her story of everything that she's had to, overcome, including also being a mother, like also Americana too. She's a mother and a wild superhero too. When you hear stories like that, it makes you want to root for these women more and more. And then when you watch them in the ring, like they're amazing. Like
Mhm.
they're really amazing, and the production value of the show is really good. They up the ante. It seems like every few months they have something new that they've added to the production of the show. And it's just so good. And I just recommend that people do check it out, because if you do love women's wrestling, man or woman, but mostly of course my women, please watch the show and just, show love to women in sports, but definitely in wrestling. Like if you haven't watched wrestling on time, you know, and if you want to watch women do it, specifically watch WoW, because it is so good. These women are amazing athletes in and out of the ring. They come from various backgrounds all over the country, all over the world, and they're fighting for gold that's very substantial. So please check it out. And their ratings, here lately have been really high. And I'm really glad that that's going on, for an all female show in 2023, because the notion that a lot of people like to put out there is that people don't care about women's wrestling, but we all know that's a bold faced lie.
That
So
yeah.
please support
Yeah.
it,
I mean, yeah. That's bullshit. I think it's utter, bullshit that people are saying that there's no drive for women's wrestling and nobody cares about women's wrestling. It's just like, it's only inside of this wrestling bubble where that argument exists. Because when you break the wrestling bubble and you venture out into the mainstream world, a lot of people know more about the women's wrestlers than they do about anybody else. And that's a hard fact to face that not a lot of people want to face inside of this wrestling bubble, because it is true. I there was a while ago when I my past life when I was a bartender. um I had a few people, like a few of my regulars knew I was a wrestling fan. And they would come into the bar and they'd be like, "So Ric Flair's daughter is wrestling right now?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, let me tell you about her," And then I would show them clips of Charlotte Flair, and they're like, "Holy shit, that's so cool," Like, "Oh my gosh." And I feel like more people in the mainstream universe is more interested in women wrestling than they do of men. I don't think that's always the case, but for my experience and the people that I've spoken to who are not wrestling fans, they find more interest in the women wrestling than they do with the men wrestling. And that's just a fact. Like my tattoo artists, they asked me, of course, what I do, and I told them what I do, and they were like, "Well, okay, so who's someone who I should look out for?" And at the time, I think I was like gearing up to interview Jade Cargill, and I was already doing research on Jade Cargill, and I was like, you should check out Jade. And I showed them, all of Jade's outfits as Jade from Mortal Kombat, as Storm from X-Men, and the She-Hulk, and my tattoo artist was like, yeah, I'm a fan. Immediately followed Jade on Instagram, immediately watched some of her matches, immediately watched a day in the life that they did for Complex with Jade and AEW. And then that's when my tattoo artist was like, so who is this Daniel Bryan? My tattoo artist knew Jade Cargill before Daniel Bryan, who is considered
Right.
at this point a wrestling god. And I think that that is something that a lot of people that don't know how to escape the wrestling bubble can't comprehend, because I know it is hard to talk to other people outside of this bubble about wrestling. It's hard to find other people in the real world outside of the internet who enjoy wrestling at the same level that you do. But a lot of people will want to venture into wrestling because of how the women are doing, because a lot of people that were fans back in the day only remember women's wrestling because of the bra and panties matches. And we've evolved so much since then, where now they're 10 times more interested in women, especially when you show them someone like Bianca Belair. And I firsthand saw her star power when we followed her at City Field, and my gosh, everyone in that building knew exactly who she was. And it was not because, it was WWE night. No, they knew her, like they knew the college that she attended, they knew her background, her track and fields. Like, it's because she's a fascinating entity in professional wrestling, and the women are a fascinating entity in professional wrestling to the mainstream eyes sometimes. And that's probably a hard pill some people have to swallow in this community.
Yeah, and
So,
then oh, and I'm sorry.
no, no,
I didn't
no,
mean
no,
to cut
no,
you off. And
no.
then
No, you
to
good.
add further to that conversation, you have people who get into women's wrestling, in through outside entities. Like because a lot of people I feel like sometimes in the wrestling fandom have a tendency to underestimate the impact of the reality shows like with Total Divas, with Total Bellas, with Nikki Bella Says I Do and all the others. Like I feel that they have a tendency to sort of underestimate reality TV as a whole because there's always like this negative stigma towards it, which is of course outside of wrestling, doesn't necessarily have to do with it. But at the
Mhm.
same time, when you have, women who may not necessarily watch wrestling, but then you see these other women with this other entity that you like to watch, because women really do love reality shows and men too, let's not pretend. um it's just like when they watch the reality shows it makes them interested in our wrestling world, and then once you combine the two, you wind up creating a fan of both. And I find that sometimes when it comes to the mainstream, when wrestling tries to reach out to the mainstream, I find that we have a tendency to be a little bit gatekeepy about that, and that's not fair. Because in
Mhm.
order for wrestling to continue to grow, and in order for this thing that we love or say that we love so very much to continue to grow, new people deserve to give it a chance. So any other way that people can get into women's wrestling or wrestling as a whole, like I'm all for it as long as it's progressive and positive and healthy. So yeah, like to speak to your point about outside and mainstream entities with that, like, and then with women's wrestling too. And I feel like that's another place where WoW, gives you that space, because watching hours sometimes of wrestling can be really hard for people due to scheduling and stuff. WoW is like an hour on the weekend, like on a Saturday or something, or whatever day it comes on for you. And you can, if you can dedicate or carve out, a little bit of time to watch that and fast forward through your commercials or whatnot,
Mhm.
then you can watch that amazing action and not be bored with it. And the stories are really cool and cute too. So it's just like it never like you'll never want for anything when you're watching WoW superheroes
Yeah,
or
for
anything
sure.
like women's wrestling army or stuff like that. Like women's wrestling is important, and it matters, and it's a thing, and we should all be watching it, and we should all be paying attention to it.
Yep, I absolutely agree. And now, reality TV is about to start popping off too, because Bianca Belair is going to have a reality show right now too. And once she has her reality TV show, I believe it's on Hulu. man, it's a wrap. There's so many people are gonna, really get into her and the reality show. Because like you said, a lot of people, whether they want to, accept it or not, Total Divas did do an impact for the women's, demographic in wrestling. And even to this day, there are young indie wrestlers who got into wrestling because of Total Divas, because of Total Bellas. And I mean, look at our NXT Women's Champion. She was 13 years old when she was on Total Divas, So it's
Right.
everyone wants to say, Roxanne is great, but then when you say, oh, but she was inspired by Total Divas, people want to deny it, and I don't see why you could ever deny it, but they won't deny it when it comes to Bianca Belair, which takes us to our next segment on the podcast called Shoot or Boot. So,
Ooh.
Stephanie, we're going to play a game. We are going to shoot and boot some Bianca Belair gears. I asked my Twitter what are some of their favorite Bianca gears? What are some of their least favorite Bianca gears? I also, said that as well. I don't think that we are going to have any boots for this game because Bianca Belair never misses. So we're gonna go over some of her gears. Obviously, she does make her gears. So let's get the game started. Stephanie, are you ready?
I am ready. Oh my god, I'm so excited. This is gonna be fun.
First, we have this infamous gear from SummerSlam 2022. Thoughts, Stephanie?
I loved it because I love denim. Um, I love denim, first of all. So it's just like, and then I also loved the um the frills on it everywhere. Like,
Mm-hmm.
considering this was in Tennessee, which is of course where she's from. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
definitely was giving like cool, cool country Tennessee girl, and the denim and the sparkly like accessories and her hair, like it was just
Yeah.
perfect for me. And then when you look at some of the camera, like the pictures of her in the ring when she was like standing up with her hands on her hips, she looked
Mm-hmm.
absolutely fantastic in that outfit. Like, she looked like she was about to handle some business in a very gritty way. And then of course, if you watch that match back, like, she really did, her and Becky tore the house down. So I say shoot, I love it. Why did you
It's
say
a
it was infamous?
it's infamous. Oh, it's infamous in my heart because I always think about it. Really,
Oh,
infamous. Maybe not infamous in a bad way.
yeah, because I was like, who
Words
had
are
anything
hard for
bad to
me
say about this
sometimes.
outfit?
No, no, just words are hard for me sometimes. That's really it. I grew up in the New York education system, so that should tell you a lot. But
I'm gonna stay
infamous in the
quiet
way
on
that
that
I
one.
have never stopped thinking about this outfit. It is an absolute shoot. The fringe that's going on with her legs. I mean, she's got chaps. She's
Yes,
got chaps. Like, how can it get any better than that? Her hair, the diamonds in her hair looks phenomenal. And my God, can she pull off a red lip?
definitely.
Just unbelievable.
Love it.
Unbelievable. And also, that match was so fire. I loved that match. I think I enjoyed that match more than I enjoyed their WrestleMania match.
Oh
The
my god.
WrestleMania
See,
match was good, but
oh, that's hard to say though, because that WrestleMania match was a banger. But I do believe I have watched the SummerSlam match back a little bit more than I have the WrestleMania match. But when
mhm,
I watch the WrestleMania match, I would tend to watch Bianca's entrance more than I do the match.
mhm,
Because the
yeah.
entrance was so cool
Oh
and I
gosh,
felt
yeah.
seen. It was so good.
Well, we're definitely going to get to that gear soon. But next, we have what she wore this past Monday Night Raw. This cheetah print moment with the puffy jacket, the sunglasses, the knee-high tie-up boots. I saw this yesterday and again cannot stop thinking about it. God damn, she looks so good. I'm not sure if she made this one, but my goodness, she looks amazing. What do you think, Stephanie?
I couldn't stop thinking about this outfit either. And when she came out in it, I was just like, oh, she's got some, of course, she's got her abs going on and she's got the necklace. But when she had them thighs out, I was like, girl, okay.
I
I
know
love
she's been
it.
experimenting with shorts. I love it.
And she looks amazing. And then, okay, this is gonna sound real crazy, but when she was talking, that the camera angle, posed like and showed like the back of the outfit, and the back of the outfit was insane. And it reminded me of Beyonce's song on the Renaissance album called Thick. And
Oh
you
yeah.
can do with that what you will. And that outfit really accentuated all of her thickness in the front and the back, because Miss Ma'am had the yams. And I was just like, come on, come
Yep.
through, get thick. Come on. I
Yep.
loved it. So
This
this
is a
is a
shoot.
shoot. This is a
Yeah.
shoot. This is an outfit I wish I could wear.
Like the thing is I do as well. I can never pull it off. But the thing is that if you take away the championship, she still looks like a champion,
Yes.
right? Like she in this, and I think in all of her other gears, she legitimately always looks like a superhero.
Mhm.
She looks great. It's a shoot. Okay, moving on. We've got the Royal Rumble 2021. It's this comic book gear. It says Slay with the little comic book like pow pow pow. I love it. It's super cute. She's got the signature red lipstick and the EST crying, pointing at the WrestleMania sign. Crowd goes wild, and by crowd I mean the Thunderdome.
Yes.
Stephanie, you blushed. What do you think about this?
This moment makes me so happy every time I think about it, because I wanted her to win this so bad. I wanted her to win this so bad. And when she did, I was just so elated and I knew who she was gonna go for. I just knew it.
Yeah.
But either way, I love the outfit because the general theme of the Royal Rumble that year was comic booky. Like, for all the flyers that they put out before, like they put out a flyer and it was very comic booky, and it showed a lot of the superstars, doing flips and kicks and all of that, hitting their finishing moves. And they had the comic book theme. And so the idea that she made this outfit to fit the theme of it with the word slay, knowing full well that this was going to be her moment, like it just gives me like just chills. And I love comic book outfits like this. So this is a shoot. This is a shoot. I loved it. It was great. The blue and the red and everything, of course, made the lipstick pop. And her crying with that outfit was just amazing. And she did slay throughout that entire match. She really did. Like, oh, she held it
Yep.
together.
She really, really did slay. Again, this shoot and boot, you're not going to find any boots because Bianca never misses. This gear, I love that she wore this gear because this is a perfect gear to solidify your history going towards WrestleMania, because the Royal Rumble really is just such an iconic pay per view. And this is a perfect, perfect gear for her to wear. And I mean, Mama slayed. She slayed.
Mhm.
Next, we have
Oh god.
WrestleMania, the WrestleMania marching band gear. This is another one that people kept suggesting for the shoot and boot. I mean, I fell in love with this gear. The little bow, I love the bow because it reminds me of Minnie Mouse. Um, she again, red is absolutely her color. I love the little shoulder pads. It almost reminds me of like the Michael Jackson. Like it sort of looks like the Michael Jackson rip with the black and the shoulder pad, gold shoulder pad. But this moment meant so much to you. Walk us through it.
Well, this moment meant a lot to me because I was watching this WrestleMania with my boyfriend and his brother. And um him and his brother both marched in the Alabama State University Marching Hornets, the Mighty Marching Hornets. And being around that, sort of atmosphere when you're in high school and in middle school, of course, when you're going through the recruitment process of college, you're looking at a lot of these colleges. And of course, a lot of them, as a Black person, you're looking at HBCUs, of course. So this was all I was surrounded by growing up, all the parades and everything. Because here in Birmingham, we have a special football game called the Magic City Classic, where Alabama State plays Alabama A&M from another area in Alabama, a city that I'm blanking on right now, and I'm sorry. But it's an over 90-year tradition. So
Mhm.
experiencing that my entire life and watching the glitz, the glam, and the grandeur of marching bands my entire life, black marching bands my whole life.
Yeah.
Um this outfit meant a lot to me because she was showing that even though she may not have attended an HBCU proper because she went to Tennessee, she that was still very much a part of her upbringing, and the fact that she was able to pull this outfit off, and show this level of representation just blew my mind. And then I know it meant a lot to my boyfriend and his brother as well, because they are still very much a part of the culture, of course, going to various events with Battle of the Bands and certain things like that. And just being surrounded by that, it just made me get chills. And then watching her entrance with Texas Southern, which is also the HBCU that Megan the Stallion graduated from that year as well, with her degree in health administration. That was an even bigger moment for them too. So I was just like, and then they were in Texas, so I was like, this is amazing. And then when you saw the drum majors, bow to her as she came out, I get chills every time I watch it back, because it was almost like they were bowing to her as if she is a queen. She's the queen of all of us. She's the queen of WWE. She's the EST of all of us, and she's a beautiful representation. Like, she's a beautiful representation of being unapologetically black in wrestling. And seeing this, just it gives me chills every time I see it, because this it just spoke to me on a deep level of something that I've experienced my whole life. And then to see it manifested in wrestling now, it just never stops amazing me. And then that band did such a good job on her theme song. Like, they played it so well. It was just immaculate.
It
So this
was.
is a shoot. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
absolute. No, 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 no. Shoot. Shoot. Absolute shoot. The entrance, I had the absolute privilege of being there in person during this entrance. And again, Bianca Bianca's pop anywhere she goes, any event is so loud. But when the band came out and they played her out, it was such a special moment in that stadium as well, cuz you can feel how one excited everybody was for this match between Bianca and Becky, but you can also feel the energy in that stadium and how glued they were to this entrance. And it was, like you said, you took the words right out of my mouth. It was a phenomenal entrance. And once we're done with this podcast, I'm probably gonna have to shoot on over to YouTube and watch that entrance again, because it is like, it has to be one of the greatest entrances, not only in WrestleMania history, but in professional wrestling history. It meant so much to so many people, to so many of my friends. And again, like, it's so wonderful to see so many people look up to Bianca Belair. Because, man, I'm telling you, she is such a star. Cannot stop saying it. Yeah, this might be a super shoot. This might be a super
Definitely.
shoot. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Oh
Okay, so
God, this one.
next we have, I love this one, and this was suggested on Twitter. Um, we have the NXT Takeover New York outfit. I believe this is NXT Takeover New York. Yes, I think it is. And she wore gear of her wrestling other people. Basically, she wore gear of her beating other people's asses. Uh I think it's an automatic shoot. I mean, that's pretty intimidating to walk into a wrestling match and your opponent is wearing your face on their gear, and it's your face getting kicked in by your opponent. And it's giving me a little Rick Rude vibes as well. This is a shoot. What do you think?
Yeah, I believe this is a really good shoot because, I mean, how creative do you have to be to include pictures of you beating up on your opponents multiple
Mhm.
times on an outfit? Like that, I feel like that's not only a cute outfit, but I feel like that's another way to just get in the head. Like you said, like Rick Rude, another way to get in the head of your opponents. And she had a lot to prove here in this match right here. Like she really beat up two women right here and did a KOD on two women and lifted them. This is where we saw a lot of her strength like just manifest here. So this was amazing. So I'll definitely give this one a shoot.
Yeah, this is an immediate shoot. It's so good. Again, that red lip. That girly can pull off that red lip. Yeah, this is a definite shoot. So next we have Royal Rumble 2020. Believe this is her first Royal Rumble appearance, and she came out in this black gear, which she has described that she made it herself. I remember, I'm pretty sure this was the one where she wore like a chain jacket, and she was saying like the jacket was so heavy on her. I love that she wore this black lip, and this Royal Rumble appearance was such a strong appearance, especially since it is your first Royal Rumble appearance. It is such a strong way to get in it, because I remember she eliminated everyone and the countdown happened and Charlotte Flair was coming out, and she was like Bianca was sweating a little bit, and it was a fantastic moment. We don't really we usually do see her in a lot of red, but this is a nice switch up. The chains on the hip I absolutely love. It's a shoot.
Yeah, I feel like this picture and this outfit actually gained her a lot of mileage because before she won the titles and before she was called up to the main roster like properly, they used this picture for a lot of things. For a lot of merchandise, for a lot of the calendar shoots that they did for her, even for I believe her jacket that Chalkline sells sold, they used this gear. So this
Yes, yeah,
this
they did,
outfit
and
had
it's
a
an action figure too. Sorry to interrupt, but it's an
yeah,
action figure.
this outfit had a lot of mileage on it. And it's not, big and bold and bright, like the others,
Mhm.
but it's beautiful in its simplicity. And here again, it's another me and my boyfriend moment because it's like the colors for Alabama State are black and gold. And he loves black and gold, so it's just like by connection wise, it's like black and gold is a beautiful combination of colors. So this was beautiful. And then it's just like here again, the whole 3-year thing. When I started my podcast, like I was so excited to see her in this Royal Rumble. Because I just loved everything she was doing at the time. Like I wanted her to be NXT Women's Champion. Like I was really like pushing for her to do that. And then on top of that, she wound up breaking a record for um eliminations, I believe, in this one.
I think she did. It's since been broken, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that this was the one where she did have the most eliminations.
Mhm. Like it was beautiful. Like this moment was amazing and this gear was really great, and like I said, it had a lot of mileage on it. It's a very timeless and simple gear that she's, created. So yeah, this is a shoot. It's a very beautiful simple shoot.
Yeah. And I like that you say that this is such a subtle gear too, because there's not anything that's screaming out to you with this gear, and it's almost as like, this is me. I'm here. I'm not going to have anything too flashy, but I am going to show out with my ring skills. At this time she was in NXT, and for someone in NXT in her position, who one was never NXT Women's Champion, but for
Right.
someone like her who came out so early at the Royal Rumble and lasted for so long in the Royal Rumble is huge in my eyes, at least. And you can tell that, everyone in creative definitely saw her becoming a megastar. And yeah, it's a shoot. Look how good she looks. Next, it
Oh
is
Lord.
WrestleMania 37. This is when she faced off and main evented WrestleMania against Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes Moné. This gear I absolutely loved. This was a suggestion on Twitter, and someone did say that this gear was a little underwhelming for a WrestleMania appearance. I'm going to wholeheartedly, absolutely disagree. I think that she has had better gear since this WrestleMania, but the fact that this is you know, the WrestleMania where she's going after the title. She's main eventing WrestleMania at that. I love the gear. I see nothing wrong with her gear, and her ring jacket almost reminded me of Macho Man Randy Savage in a way. I mean, you can't deny this gear is just phenomenal. The material, the fabric is lovely. This purple is amazing on her. The EST in the front with the fringe is phenomenal. What do you think, Stephanie?
Yeah, I remember watching her YouTube video where she was talking about how she was making the gear. Um, and I know a lot of people, were trying to like it was rumored that a lot of people were pointing out, oh well, this was inspired by this person, and because this was the first time two black women ever main evented a WrestleMania, a lot of people rumored that she was paying tribute to either Jazz or so many other women at a time, and I don't know how true that is. Um, if so, then that's great, but if not, then that's fine too. Here again, this is another one where simplicity actually works too, because it's like
Mm-hmm.
she was talking about the theme of her gear was "Watch Me Shine," like in her theme song, and she was shining with her jacket on with the diamonds, of course, with the diamond um bow tie, and with, of
Mm-hmm.
course, the diamond encrusted EST on her braid, and of course all the diamond fringes and stuff on the outfit. Like, even though it's a very simple outfit with a lot of shiny elements to it, it got the point across creatively. Her lipstick matched with it. Like, this matched the moment, because when I think about black women, and sometimes, when we think about royalty, we always equate it to purple. I believe that's all around, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely in my community, when you wear purple, it's like a sense of, you're stepping out into you being a full royal person, or a full, the full totality of your
Mm-hmm.
womanhood when you're wearing purple. So it's just like, this made sense to me, because this was her moment. Like, this was the first time she was ever main eventing a WrestleMania. Like, this was it, and this was a historic moment for her and for Mercedes. They were main eventing WrestleMania and having this moment, of representation for black women, which of course carries us currently, even now, into this day where we're watching black women do so many amazing things in wrestling. And so this gear got the point across. She was shining, and this was her shining moment. This was her crowning glory. This was the moment where she won her first title. Um, so I don't necessarily think this was underwhelming. I think it fit the moment just right. And then when you think about on the back of the outfit, she sewed on like a badge that said, "Y'all gonna get this black girl magic today."
Mm-hmm.
That's enough right there. It's simple, yet it's straight to the point.
Yeah.
So that's a shoot.
Yeah. This is definitely a shoot. Absolutely agree with you on that. Okay, moving on. The final gear. It is the ultimate Bianca Belair gear. This was the gear that a lot of people suggested for this segment. It is the Black History gear that she wore for NXT TakeOver Phoenix. Just absolutely amazing. Like, come on. Like, come on. This is a shoot, you know? It's just so good. She
Yeah.
looks she looks royal. She looks regal.
Yeah. Like, it's so funny, it's like the segue, the purple. Like, it's like you said, she did. Like, she really did look royal with this outfit. She had on like this I don't know. I've seen this neck part before, like in something else. I believe at some point I saw Beyonce use it in one of her music videos for Black is King, I think.
Okay.
Um, it was beautiful. Like, her boots matched, everything matched. Like, I remember watching this takeover. And this takeover, I believe this was in 2022, as well. And it's just like, when I watch it back and look at this outfit, I was I was happy that she did this, but then I couldn't believe that they were letting her do this. Because up until that point, I had never really seen anyone really represent Black history in such big way and in a
Mhm.
bold way, with gear and regardless, regardless of whatever. Because I know sometimes there are a couple of fans who have a tendency to sort of like look down on this type of thing because they don't understand the point of it and all of the above. But
Mhm.
that's a them thing. That's a them problem. Um, but when I saw it, I just couldn't believe my eyes and I thought it was so beautiful. And then when she came out with the cape that said Black History in the Making, it's like she said what needed to be said. And then when you think about, her family history, like there's so much of her family history in which making Black history is actually like a part of her lineage, like in a very
Mhm.
deep way. Um so the idea that she made this outfit and it was so bold, like I felt like she was gonna win this night. Like if she beat Rhea Ripley and went on to face Charlotte, in that WrestleMania, I would have been so happy if she had had that moment, and that would have been amazing, but it wound up not happening that way. But either way, this was a beautiful moment and it had an incredible and unapologetic statement here that she is Black history in the making. Like she spoke that into existence, like, and she has been, over the past few years, like even in NXT and even when she got called up, she has been Black history in the making. And I'm just so happy that she had this moment. Like, I'll never forget how after this match, she took pieces of this outfit and sold it, on t-shirts. And that was limited edition. And then when she wasn't selling the pieces of the outfit anymore, she just had regular t-shirts made with the phrase on it. And I actually bought it and I still have it. So this outfit really did make me, fall head over heels for her even more. I even named one of my earlier episodes after this phrase. It was my third episode, as a matter of fact. I named my
Uh-huh.
third episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast Black History in the Making because of this outfit. This outfit changed me. It had me by the throat. So shoot.
Yeah. I will probably say that this outfit was a cultural reset in professional wrestling.
It was.
Absolutely, absolutely. I didn't know that so she took part of this gear and put it onto a shirt and sold it?
Yeah, like she took pieces of the gear and sold it onto a t-shirt. Like her and I believe her and Montez had their own little shop at some point
Okay.
years ago before she got called up to the main roster, and she was
Mhm.
selling like little knickknacks like earrings and stuff that she would I believe that either she would make or like I believe she made them, and she would have sunglasses, earrings, different jewelry like that, and she actually made had t-shirts made with the pieces of that gear that said Black History in the Making, and it was limited edition, so you can only get like so few at a time. So yeah.
Mm. Well, I did not know that at all. That's so cool because again, she makes her own gear. So that's cool that she was like, you know what? I'm going to share this gear with so many other of my fans. And like you said, she manifested that. You know, she is Black history in the making. And she did because what? A year later, not even a year later, she went on to win the Royal Rumble and she went on to main event WrestleMania.
Yes,
Am I
even though a lot of us were kind of collectively mad that she was never NXT Women's Champion, we was like, "Bruh, why?" But it worked out in the end. It worked out.
I know, because especially at this time, I was hoping that she was gonna get
Whew.
thrown in that WrestleMania match between Charlotte Flair and Rhea for the NXT Women's Championship, and then got called up to the main roster, and I felt the same way. I was like, damn, I really would love to see her, be NXT champion at some point, but she didn't need it. It's safe to say she didn't need that title.
Yeah, it's okay. There's a lot of, there's a lot of women on the main roster now who never won the NXT Women's title and they're doing just fine. So
Yep,
it's okay.
exactly. It is safe to say that a lot of the women right now are making history on the main roster. Stephanie, what are your hopes with the future of women's wrestling?
Well, my hopes for the future of women's wrestling is that, there are more opportunities for us to shine. I'm saying us like I be in action, like I fight. I don't fight.
No,
I
but
just
you are a woman in wrestling. You know, you're a
Yeah, you're
woman in
right.
wrestling media. You count. You count.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, you're right. Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
For women's wrestling in athleticism, I just want, continual equality, whether that is, of course, more opportunities and more, titles to showcase more of their talent instead of just scrambling and fighting for one title on each show. Or whether that means you have multiple women's matches instead of one on an independent show, or whether that means that you have more women on the intellectual space in terms of writing the stories and writing more believable stories for women to have, and also on commentary, um like hint hint me, hire me, um or like even if it comes to like not even just with like interviewing, and also with mediation with various pre-shows, like let women come on and actually give their 2 cents the way that you let the men do, on pre-shows and stuff like that. Like I just want equal opportunities for all women in all areas of wrestling, whether it be on the athletic side, the referee side, and also in the intellectual space as well. Like I just want more growth for us to really show that we, can run this, and that we know just as much, if not more, than the men do, and that we deserve the opportunity to show that. So that's what I'm hoping for. And then selfishly, I'm hoping for more of an opportunity for me to have bigger and better opportunities for continued growth on my end, so that I can make this like a full-on full-time life. So just talking about wrestling because it makes me really happy. So
Well, we are manifesting that for you, Stephanie. We are putting that energy out there. You are celebrating your 3-year anniversary, and that is a huge milestone to have that continuity and continue on. And I do believe that you are going to be a strong force in the wrestling media world. You're already off to a phenomenal start. So, sky's the limit for you. But if anybody is watching this who wants to hire you, where can they find you? Where can they hear more from you?
well, thank you so much for those lovely words. I appreciate that so much. If anybody's looking for me to hire me, or just want me on their show, or just whatever, you want to talk wrestling or stuff like that, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can also find my podcast, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, everywhere you listen to shows. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast. It's a beautiful pink, purple, and white logo. So please look for that, and you can find all of my videos there. And you can also check me out on Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet, every Monday for the Wow Superheroes After Show with Katrina from In Cat We Trust, and Emily May Heller, who is also an amazing correspondent in various wrestling entities. And you can find me on the SmackDown and Rampage After Show with our editor in chief, Drian Santana. And also you can check out a number of my articles that I've written for our website at www.talkpod.com, because I'm getting into my writing stuff too. So you can check that out as well. So
Ooh, she's in her writing era. Watch out. She's coming
yeah.
out with articles.
Mhm. I'm doing all the things. And also if you want me for commentary, you can just go on the links to all of my stuff, and you can just find out, you can either DM me or email me. Either way, you can find me everywhere. So,
Yep, absolutely. And pay up the rate. And whatever you're charging for your rate, double that. Double
oh.
it. Because you deserve it. That's why.
Yes, all of that, please.
Yes, I'm saying it at least. I'm letting the people know to pay you more because they should. Because you're amazing and you deserve it. That's why.
Thank you.
Well, Stephanie, thank you for joining me today. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
You
And
are welcome.
I
It
know.
was a
I
pleasure.
just
Do
wish
you
we could end this podcast with a hug.
Oh, that's what see, just know that my heart is hugging you, okay? Because it's like
Okay.
my heart is hugging. Feel
Okay.
it.
I believe it. I believe it, and I feel it in my soul.
Yes, feel it. Just feel the hug in the heart until we meet again.
Yes, until we meet again.
Yes.